So welcome back students in this series of Monster Technology. So in the previous video we have discussed a data structure known as array which is used to store a data. So in this video we'll discuss about another data structure which is JSON. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So in JavaScript if you want to store a data in a format of an object, then you will have to use the JSON part. And what is JSON and what is object? So JSON is a lightweight data interchange format and JSON is language independent. These 2 points makes JSON so familiar and so famous. So nowadays JSON is language independent and JSON is supported by almost every language. Now let's discuss what is the interchange format. Now whenever we talk about any kind of web technology, we have two things. One is client and one is the server. A client can be defined as any entity that can send a request to a server. For example, a browser, a mobile game, a mobile phone, anything which can send a request to a server is known as a client. Now, a client can send a small amount of data in the form of a request to the server. The server receives that data and process that data and generates an output and send that generated output back in the form of response to the client. Now the client will have that response and then work on that response. Now in that process of request and response cycle, we have data. So the client sends some kind of data to the server and server sends some kind of data to the client. But what if the client and the server both are designed in separate language? For example, let's say our client is a web browser and a website which is developed by JavaScript, but our server is in the Python or our server is in the Java. So now data interchange between two languages is not possible directly. Now let's suppose in Python we have list, we have dictionaries, but in JavaScript we have arrays. So how to translate that data between array to a dictionary or array to a Python list? So now we have, so here we use JSON as an interchange format. So as JSON is language independent, so every language, like say Java, it's JavaScript, it's Python, it's Kotlin, it's let's say PHP, it's Ruby on Rails, any language. So any language you can name, it supports JSON and it has JSON dependencies to understand JSON and to write JSON format. Now a client, let's say suppose the client is created with Java, the client is created with the JavaScript or Python, any language, can send a request in the form of JSON and the server will receive that JSON format, translate that JSON into its local variables or local data structures. Then it generates an output and send the JSON format response return to the client. So this is how the communication between the client and the server takes place with the help of JSON. So JSON is a lightweight data interchange format which is used to interchange some kind of data between the client and the server, irrespective of the language of the client and language of the server used for the programming. And also JSON is language independent because every language nowadays supports JSON and have their own JSON dependencies to understand JSON, to write JSON and to convert JSON into other data formats. Now let's understand more practically that how JSON is different from normal arrays and how to use JSON in our day-to-day programming. So let's suppose, let me open my Visual Studio Code. So here I have created a file on the name of JSON practice2 and let's create a script tag to code our JSON. Now let's suppose I want to store some names. So I'll write down var names equals to, and for the array format I'll write down Kuldeep, I'll write down Aman, then I'll write down, let's say, Mo. Now this is the basic array format, but in JSON format we write down like JSON data equals to, so in JSON the data is stored in the curly braces and in the key value pair, and the key and the value will be separated with the help of a column. So we'll write down like first name, so let's say first name is Kuldeep, then we'll write down last name and separate comma, we'll write down last name Kuldeep Vyas. So this is how we store data in the JSON format. So this is the basic JSON format. Now what is the use of that? So whenever we want to get some kind of data from the array, we use the index, but in the case of JSON we always use a key. So our first key is first name and the second key is last name. So we'll write down document.write first name plus last name. But first name and last name are not the variables, they are keys of the data, which is a JSON object. So we'll write down data dot first name and data dot last name. So this is how we can iterate over a JSON. Now let's check the output of this file. So here you can see the output Kuldeep. Yeah. So let's put some text around it and a little space between these two variables. So this is how I have separated this, and now let's check the output. So this is the output. Hello Kuldeep. Yeah. So this is how we can store the data into the JSON format and get the values out of that JSON using the object. Now this is another way we can get it like, so I'll just copy this, paste this, and now let me add another value which is company. So let's the company name is XYZ. This is the company. So we'll write down here. So let me write down welcome to company name. So we'll write down data dot company. So this is first type. Now let me refresh this and output will be welcome to the XYZ. Now another way of doing that is we can pass this in square brackets. So we'll write down welcome to company, but for this we have to do it in curly braces. Now check the output. So this is the second way of doing that. Output is same, welcome to the XYZ. So let me add a BR tag over here, so we'll get it into the next line, just like. Now if you want to pass some kind of array, some kind of 2D data, 3D data into the request, so we can easily do that with the help of JSON. How? So let's suppose I have a contact key, and let's suppose if a user have multiple contacts. So for that we'll write down an array over here. So we'll write down first contact, let's say, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now let's have second contact, which is this, and the third contact, which is this. So this is how you can store the multiple contacts. Now if I want to get this contact, we'll write down simply, we'll write down document dot write, please check your contact numbers equals to, so here we write down data dot contact. Let's save this and you can check the output. So this is the array of contact we have. You can see this is the array. We can easily iterate over that. We'll write down, let me write down a for loop for I of. So reaching this contact array, we have to use the object. So we'll write down for I of data dot contact, and then let's write down a simple string. Now let's make this I, as we are using the for of loop, which is directly giving the data to us. So we'll write down contact number. So let's save this and check it out. Also let's add a BR tag, so we get into the next line. You can check it out. Now you can see this is the contact number. So this is how you can store arrays into your JSON. You can iterate over arrays, and you can execute for in loop, for off loop, any kind of data, any kind of loop, any kind of if else statement, anything you can execute with the help of JSON. So JSON is a very high level data structure which is language independent and can be used to communicate between this client and the server. So that's why we call JSON, JavaScript Object Notation, a lightweight data interchange format and a language independent format also. So this is how you can use JSON into your websites to store data and to transmit data. In the later on stage, we will also discuss how to send JSON and how to receive JSON in the form of request and response, and how to work on that JSON. So this is all about JSON. So in the next video, we'll discuss about this object part in more briefly into the OOP concept, which is object oriented programming. So we'll discuss OOPs in the next part of this series. So thank you for watching this video.